Hey, what's up? Welcome to DGen Ed. That's degenerative education, meaning none of this is financial advice. Just me having fun looking at charts. And so this is pre-market prep for Monday, June 2nd. Going to be going over the usual tickers, and then I thought it'd be nice to just kind of look at some of the monthly charts, reflecting back on what has happened in May and prior months, just to see maybe, we've pulled back to a bottom or a top or, continuation, thinking about stuff like that. But anyways, yeah, let's dive into the charts here, beginning, of course, with the UVIX, the 2X long VIX futures ETF, which closed on Friday at a price of $29.28, being up about 1.5% on the day. And so far in the pre-market, it's up about 3%, trading above $30 a share. So let's take a look at this. See that green line there? That is at 30. So that, in my view, psychologically, just, $30, whole dollar number divisible by 10, also divisible by 3 might be, an important level for us to reclaim and hold, currently being above it. And so if we look over at the 10-minute time frame, we can see that actually in the overnight trading, and we can actually look back on the Friday trading, since the last time that I covered these market prep videos was in the overnight on Thursday. We can see that price kind of just hung out around that level, pulled back into the pre-market, bounced around, hitting a high of 31.46 on Friday before pulling back, cooling off into the after hours. And we did see this little bit of a gap up into the overnight, hitting a high in the overnight of $31.23, and then now pulling back to just above $30 a share. And so, one thing that happened last week that I was maybe a little bit disappointed by, we hit a low of 27.38, but actually if I flip over to the 10-minute time frame again, I believe we hit we came down in the overnight hours before Thursday's open. We hit a low of 26.50, and I had been eyeing $27 as a dip buying level, but I decided to remove that limit buy and place a buy order at 25, this purple line, just thinking, if we're really going to be breaking down, I want to be patient, taking advantage of the dips there. Instead, I just had this alert at 27. And, I could have bought the dip at 27, but maybe 30.15 or so, $30. Maybe we do get rejected from there and do start to head down. So I will be glad I was patient in waiting to buy the dip if we do go down to 25. If not, that's fine. I got a small position, so I'm cool with that. But yeah, a good way to hedge in case markets get volatile. If markets do come down some, I like the UVIX a lot, which is, an alternative to buying the VIX directly, which this is the Market Volatility Index, which closed on Friday at a price of $18.57. And as far as I understand this, you can't buy shares of this. You can only do options. So there's always a time component, always very risky. Whereas with UVIX, you can just buy shares, very easy. But yeah, looking at this, it has been kind of hanging out around, seeming to be finding some support around $18, which we do have the 786 here, which is at a price of $17.91. That being from this retracement, gone over multiple times on the channel here. That was tested over here. It was tested again. So maybe we do break below it. And if we do break below it, I see it right around $15 as kind of a nice target for the VIX. So do keep that in mind. But then let's look over at the SPY here. Let's see. This is the S&P 500 tracking ETF, which closed on Friday at a price of $589.39, being down 0.11% on the day and continuing lower into the pre-market, down by about 0.4% or around $2.36. And so I'm wondering if this doodle is going to play out if we do break back above the $600 level. So far, it looks like we're getting rejected from there, but if we are going to be putting in higher lows, let's see, the low over here from May 23rd was $575.60. So we want to be staying above that, putting in a higher low. Now we are currently above, or right around $587. That is above this red line here, which is right around 582. But we are below this yellow line here, pulling back into the pre-market. So if I do flip over to the 10-minute time frame, just taking a step back. So the overnight on Thursday, that is the last time that I covered this, we can see that price kind of hovered around, hung out around that yellow line around $589.90, hitting a high during Friday's market hours of $591.13 before starting to fade into the after hours, into the overnight, hitting a low during the overnight hours of $584.82 before bouncing a little bit. So yeah, we'll have to see where this takes us. And I will look back over at this on the monthly once I do go through the usual tickers. But yeah, so let's see. Are we going to be hitting $600 by the end of this week or pulling back? If we do pull back, I could see, that there's a lot of support here right around $570, somewhere around there. We've got this green line, which is the 236. And that does seem to correspond with the wick high from May 2nd. And yeah, it did wick above that again on May 8th, but then pulled back before gapping above. And we do have that gap down there at 564.34. That was the closing price on May 9th. So maybe we do head down to there. Maybe we get a wick down there, but hold these levels as support. And just to note, that purple line that you see there, that is kind of like the neckline of what could be, head and shoulders pattern. And actually, that did seem to play out while we did get a bounce following it. If we do just get a measurement from the top of the head down to the neckline, marking that as the midpoint, that very nicely did play out here when we hit lows in the middle of March, right around $550. So that measured move, so basically the distance from the top to the neckline, taking that distance down, we did see that play out over here. But then we bounced, got rejected from that neckline, and then it really sold off. It was Liberation Day down there. So yeah, pretty crazy. I really just noticed that now. Very interesting to see that move play out. But anyways, now let's flip over to the SPX. This is the S&P 500 index itself, which the SPY is based on. And so the SPX closed on Friday at a price of $5,911.69, being down 0.01% on the day. No pre-market trading on this one, unless I wanted to look over at the futures. But we kind of get that looking at the SPY. But we can see that really, the level to reclaim would be around $6,000, kind of corresponding with that doodle there. I'm actually going to delete that because it hasn't really played out exactly as I had drawn it, because I was expecting that gap fill or a test of these levels here, and we did not get that. So yeah, if we do pull back to these levels, that 236, so basically the same one that I went over with the SPY, and then also that neckline of the head and shoulders pattern, which I believe if I do get a measurement from over here, that will bring us right around to the lows over there. So very interesting to see that. But if we do pull back, that 236, that purple trend line, right around $5,700, and then that gap fill would be around $5,659.91, or $5,660, right around there. So we will have to see. And then now looking over at Bitcoin, we can see, how I've drawn this out. Maybe this looks like a bear flag, down move and consolidation. And so I could see this coming down to, let's see, 102 right around here, consolidation lows that I've drawn there. Also, I'm just going to delete that box so it's not so cluttered. Also, that looks like it was the 382 retracement here. So maybe we do pull back to that, but maybe that retracement's a little bit outdated because we did go higher and we have not yet. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I haven't been looking at Bitcoin over here in Webull that much because I've been looking at it in TradingView. But currently it looks like prices are around $104,000. I might switch over to here to pull up that Bitcoin chart. This is one that I have been going over in Crypto Corner Sat Stacker. And so, I could see this sweeping out the lows here right around 101, 102, maybe coming back to the 382 Fibonacci level here from the retracement that extends from the lows over here hit on April 7th. Liberation Day type stuff, the bottom formed around there, and then the top that was hit on May 23rd. So that 236 is around $98,000. So maybe over the course of the next week, maybe over the course of June, we do see a pullback, which I think would represent nice dip buying opportunities before we make an attempt at that orange uptrend. I don't know why I get the words green and orange confused. I'm not colorblind, but just those are odd colors or odd words, I guess, green and orange. Yes, I confuse them. We got G's and R's in them and E's. Maybe we get up to this red trend line. That is around 115, 120 maybe. But yeah, I think a pullback in Bitcoin would be nice. I would welcome that. And then I'm just going to, in the other chart here, I'm going to pull up Ethereum. And I will probably just be looking at these in TradingView moving forward for pre-market preps. Because, I've just gotten a little bit more used to looking at them. And so here with Ethereum currently trading just below $2,500, we have seen, higher highs formed here with lower highs in the RSI. So that's some bearish divergence, but it's not necessarily that strong of bearish divergence. But if we do pull back, I would be very excited to see price coming down to around $2,350. Excuse me, my nose is a little stuffy. I'm not sure why. Season change, I don't really know. But I would be very excited if we got a pullback to there. I do have a limit dip buy at $2,350, which I'm actually a little bit concerned that we don't hit that level. But I think that what we could be seeing here, though, is a shakeout of people with stop losses based on the low over here from May 25th. That was at a price of $2,323. So I would then think that a limit buy at around $2,350 would get filled, but maybe not. But yeah, I would be looking forward to a dip to there before going higher, because that does, just like with Bitcoin, like I was talking about, that actually, I need to adjust this. Wow. So Saturday, this was Thursday. Why did I not draw that up to the high there? I should have drawn that to the high. And actually, I should have extended this. This is actually kind of weird. I didn't do this. It's probably because Bitcoin and Ethereum, I go over at the beginning of the video, and by the end of it, I kind of developed a different strategy for drawing out these Fibonacci retracements. But yeah, anyways, Ethereum coming down to sub 2,400, I think. I would be excited about that. But yeah, let's look over at the Webull charts. And, I'm just, before I open up the chat, I am just going to look at the SPY, removing the drawings, looking at this on the monthly. Oops, don't want Wendy's. And so monthly, yeah, this doesn't look so bad. It would have been nice if we closed higher than the open of March, which was around $594. So we closed May a little bit lower, but still, this looks like a really nice, dip buying opportunity over here, push higher. Although it would be nice if this was backed by more volume. So maybe we do start to see a rollover. Maybe we don't get back to those highs of 611.39, which were hit in February. So yeah, really interesting to think about that relative to the volume there. And then if we do look at the SPX, this is not going to include volume, but basically the exact same chart. But the highs over here from February were around $6,147.43. So that would be the level that we want to see us taking out. And then I guess I can, also look over at Bitcoin and Ethereum on the monthly time frame. So let's see, let's just flip over here to look at Bitcoin. And I'm just going to remove the drawing so we don't have all this clutter. And then I will switch this over to, I don't know, the, let's see if I'm not too familiar with this. So 1 month, okay, no, so that doesn't really, that just kind of made this, what's going on? What happened here? I'm not sure what happened. So what I'm going to do is just pull up the, oh, that's the wrong one. I'm not sure what happened. Yeah, reload the site. Something wonky happened. Okay, so this is on Ondo, but let's look up Bitcoin. Pulling that up here, and then I'm just going to remove those drawings, and I'm not going to click down here. I think that adjusts the x-axis. I'm going to go up here to switch this over to the 1 month time frame. And maybe I actually want to add that to my faves up there. Yeah, so looking at Bitcoin on the monthly time frame, let's see about this. This is the new month, June here. We can see for May, volume's been diminishing as we've kind of like been consolidating at the highs over here. Just like over here, we had this move up, volume going up, and then volume cooling off as we're holding these levels. So I actually think that this looks really good because the reason for that is that we don't have tons of selling up here, that there's a lot of effort needed to hold the price up here. If there was a lot of effort to hold the price up here, volume, that would be reflected in the volume being higher. And so we're not seeing that. We're seeing volume coming down. So that means people are just holding. People are just hanging out. Once those sellers dry up and then buyers step in, then this is going to be taken off to the next level up. So really interesting there. And then if we do flip over to, I'm actually just going to flip this back over to the daily, bring those drawings back. And yeah, so we're looking at the chart there. And then let's see, I'm just going to pull up the ETH chart and remove those drawings and then switch this over to the monthly. So what is, I think I just need to close this other window because it's going to, okay, there we go. So on the ETH chart, I have two windows up here for TradingView. And I think when I have three, I just closed one, then it becomes a little bit problematic. So yeah, I'm just going to remove those drawings. And so what we could see with ETH is that, yeah, I mean, this doesn't look as good because, but we got these, let's see, lower highs, and this looks like it's a higher low. So it does seem like we are consolidating a little bit. Maybe we're putting in, it looks like maybe a bull flag, bullish consolidation. But here we do, let's see. I mean, over here, volume hasn't really been that impressive like it was over here. So that actually suggests to me, let's think about this. Lower volume versus over here. It means that, in my view, people haven't really returned to Ethereum. They've just been, very unimpressed by it. And so what I could see happening is maybe profits from Bitcoin rolling into Ethereum, and specifically I mean by profits from Bitcoin ETFs rolling into Ethereum ETFs. And so once we start to see this volume pick up back to these levels, then I think that maybe we could be looking for a top. And so what we can see here on the monthly charts is we got volumes of 18.2, 17.91 million coins traded, I guess. here. But what we're seeing now, the high that we've seen really for the past like over here. So the highest that we've seen was last March 2023, and that was 5.94 million shares trade or coins traded. But the highest more recently that we've seen was in April, and that was about 5.37 coins traded. And so that is less than a third of the spikes we were seeing here when we were making those new all-time highs. So really, I mean, we have not completely seen the return to ETH like in the past. So I think that we could be seeing some more upsides like I've gone over during Crypto Corner Stat Stacker around $8,000 by the end of the year is kind of what I'm expecting. But anyways, let's open up the chat in case there are some requests. I see that Crash 2.0 is coming. Let's see. I mean, I don't really know. I don't know what you mean by Crash 2.0. Let's see. This is the monthly, so I want to switch this over to the daily. And so, yeah, I mean, we've already seen, I don't know, Crash 2.0 as in this being 1.0, that we got a V-shaped recovery. I don't think, I mean, to be honest, I think you were saying that when we were down here. I think there's a lot of panic. I think that when there's panic, when people are saying Crash 2.0 is coming, I think it's time to be contrarian. But maybe you're being contrarian now with us being just a little bit lower than those all-time highs. But yeah, I mean, let's see. I got about 15 minutes or so before the hour comes to a close. But to be honest, you could probably tell. I think it's just because it's the Monday. I'm feeling like it's the Monday. And you can probably tell it in my voice, my energy. And so I'm just going to look over at my phone, see if there's anything that stands out as being super notable. I don't really see too much. I think once we see what happens with the market, once it opens, then maybe there could be some interesting stuff to go over. Moderna's up. Unity Software's down. Tesla's down. INM. Wow. I covered this last night. Pretty crazy. Up 130% in the pre-market. Wow. Yeah. So you can't see it, but it's trading around 575. Let's flip over to the 10-minute time frame. Look at that. So those levels, that's insane. Those levels that I drew, they're right here. 575 is up here. Okay. And so what do we see? 10-minute time frame hit a high of 943. Oh my gosh. Wow. INM. All those levels are down here. The high there, 249. That is this level right here. So just squash that. Oh, I guess what I could do is maybe adjust the axis here so it won't change. Go over to the 10-minute. Yeah, I guess it did change. Wow. Yeah, so let's look at it from this perspective. So let's get the highs. Yeah, so like that. So you can see that where it was at Friday, and then 10-minute time frame. Look at that. Wow. 943 high. I think it's, if you're in it, you're up over 100%. I think it's good to at least trim. But yeah, pretty impressive there. INM, which is InMed Pharmaceuticals, 1 hour ago. Why Blueprint Medicines shares are trading higher by 27%. Here are 20 stocks moving in the pre-market. InMed Pharmaceuticals reports Q1 2025 financial results. That's from TipRanks. So yeah, I mean, I think this is a good one to take some profits on. To trim a little bit. Maybe it goes higher. Maybe it goes into the double digits. As the high was 943, so almost getting to 10. But yeah, so good to take profits on moves like this, at least trim. And then, because speaking of earnings, I believe NEO reports earnings tomorrow. This is a stock that I have covered, that I do hold some of, whether it's calls that are probably going to be expiring worthless on June 20th, which reminds me I should sell some of them at a loss before open, place a limit order, just to manage that risk. I think actually I already do have that order placed. I was just thinking about it. But yeah, NEO currently trading around $3.54 down, closed Friday at $3.54, down 3.8% over the course of the day. But in the pre-market, it's up about 2 cents or about 0.5%, having pulled back to the 618 here from this retracement. That's around $3.56, right around where it's currently at. The next level down, so that's the 618. The next level down is going to be the 786, around 332. We do have earnings coming out tomorrow before the market opens, so I will be covering NEO during pre-market prep tomorrow. But I have to say this stock has just been a complete disaster as far as my expectations go, what I've covered on the channel. I've kind of stopped covering it because it just continues to disappoint. But maybe that means that it's about time that it forms a bottom. And there's this trend line. I covered it. We broke out, retested, came up, but then formed these gaps. When coming down, broke below that trend line. And is it going to be up at $4 by the end of the month? I believe Max Pain, let's look at that. Max Pain for NEO is, let's see, Max Pain over here. NEO is $4 for the next few weeks, then down to $3.50. So I was just expecting this to be around $8 by now, and that's just clearly not happened. So and it's like I was beating a dead horse with that, and so I kind of needed to stop covering it, and I've been trimming out of my calls at a loss. Because it's better to take, a small loss, a large loss, and a little bit of cash than for it to completely go to zero. I don't really plan on, because of my experience with NEO, I don't really plan on trading stocks that are non-US based, because, especially Chinese stocks, because I just don't, my experience with NEO has been pretty bad, unfortunately. But that is what it is. And it looks like I do see somebody in the chat, or somebody watching. So if you do have a request, let me know. I've been kind of low energy this morning, I think just because it's Monday. And, seeing the price action today will kind of probably inspire some more tickers into tomorrow's video. So I'm just going to put in my notepad what I'm covering for today. So Monday, June 2nd. I did go over INM, which is just crazy, up over 150% in the pre-market. And then I also did go over NEO. And but we got about 10 minutes before the hour. So if there aren't any requests, I might just throw up the subscribe thing here. So, as always, those are just my thoughts. If you did find them helpful, make sure you like the video, share your thoughts in the comments down below or in the chat. If you do have requests, I will check them towards the end of every pre-market and or overnight market prep video. And make sure you subscribe for more videos like this. But I will stick around if there is another request. Like I was just saying, INM, I had covered this last night, I believe. And drew this trend line thinking that it could be at support, came back to that 786. But I was also talking about, the possibility of it coming down to 220, but that was already tested here. I'm not sure if I was bearish or bullish on it last night. I was just saying that, it had pulled back to this level. But then, who could have predicted? All those levels just got squished there, super small. Hit a high of 943 in the pre-market. Yeah, that's just insane. So, I'm not in this at all, not trading it at all. Pretty interesting. I see that the person who was tuned in has left, so I am also going to leave. But yeah, thank you so much for hanging out. If you did get to the end of this, I will be doing a higher energy pre-market prep tomorrow morning. Look forward to seeing you.